In this video, we're going to see if we can use the Cricut engraving tip on scratch art paper. My name is Kelly, and let's get clacking. When it comes to testing these kinds of things out, I normally do a lot of the testing beforehand, and then I make a video on the actual process. But I thought I'd take you along the process this time. So this is what you get in the package. You get this and a little piece of wood to scratch the actual paper. And essentially, when you scratch the paper, it reveals the nice color underneath it. Now, I've got this piece, which I've done a few test scratches on. So as you'll be able to see, if you scratch with the engraving tool, you'll be able to see that there. The engraving tool is meant to essentially scratch very hard surfaces. So if I had to load this into the Cricut and use it on the scratch art paper, it would probably tear right through it. As the scratch art paper is obviously a lot softer than the normal materials that the engraving tool is meant to be used on. So what I theoretically need to do is to figure out what pressure the engraving tool needs to be set on in order to be able to properly scratch the scratch paper. So we will start out with a little bit of a test essentially, and we will work our way up or down to the correct setting. So I'm going to take up my iPad and open up a new project. I'm just going to use a normal shape or something like that, maybe, the letter P. That's normally what I use for my test cut. So let's go text and let's just select a font. It doesn't matter which font. And I'm going to type in there the capital P. So I'm going to be changing this from cut to engrave. So I need to change the line type, change that there, and we'll say engrave and apply. We now have the size of our letter that we want it to be. 1 centimeter should be good enough, maybe a little bit bigger. I'm going to go back to the home and I'm going to click the little circle at the top there, which is obviously my profile. And I'm going to go manage custom materials. Now this is where you would add in a material for something that is not in Design Space, and then it allows you to play with custom things like this. So I'm going to connect it to my Maker and I'm going to click on the plus at the top here. And I'm going to enter a name for this material. So this material is going to be scratch art paper. And I'm going to add the engrave there because obviously I need to know that I need to use the engraving tool. That's just for my reference. So I'm going to click add and now it'll take me to the settings.
A few moments later.
Okay, so I see that the engraving tool isn't here, so I need to figure out why that is. So I'm just going to do a little bit of research to figure out why the engraving tool doesn't show up here. I have loaded it into the Maker just in case it maybe didn't know that that was an option that I had, even though I don't have the deep cut blade in any case. So I doubt that that's the point there. Okay, so it looks like I can't do what I want to do from my iPad. I'm going to need to hop on over to the computer, so you'll join me on that side. All right, so we're now in Design Space on our computer, and I'm going to go to the hamburger at the top, and I'm going to click on Manage Custom Materials here. So I'm going to then search for the one that we've added. Here we can see it's scratch paper engrave. So let's go edit and let's take... Okay, so as it turns out, you can't create custom materials for the engraving blade yet. So Cricut, please let us create custom tools for the engraving blade. That would be amazing. But that's a little bit of a letdown for this. So we're going to have to think of a different plan to get this to work. I did do a super quick test on one of the leather settings, the paper thin leather, just to see if it actually worked. And as you can see, it pretty much ripped up the backing of the paper. So that's not going to work. So what I do want to try is to use something else. Maybe we can rather draw it with the pen tool feature, essentially. So I'll have to find a pen that fits. Let's try and figure it out. So as you can see there, like I mentioned earlier, it worked, but it kind of ripped up the paper a little bit. So that's not ideal. So I want to try and find something else that'll work. I do, of course, have numerous tools and things that we can use or try. Not only these ones, I've got lots more everywhere else, but they obviously have to fit 2 criteria. Number 1, they have to be able to scratch the paper. And number 2, they have to be able to fit into the Maker, into the pen section, because we obviously need to use the pen. So the one that I'm thinking is going to work is this one. It's actually a dotting tool. Because the Maker is going to be pressing the pen down straight, that's kind of the method that we need to try. So that looked like it worked, and I hope it's not going to be as simple as let's try the first tool and the first tool works. Okay, so it obviously does fit in the pen holder. Now the next step would be to see if it actually works. So I'm going to bring out the mat again and we're going to load the page onto the mat. I'm just going to turn it around so that we can draw in this corner here. And then we will send it from our iPad again. I forgot to change it to draw. Okay, so let's go back, cancel. So we've changed line type from engrave to draw. Okay, so let's test that one out. Okay, so we can see that that didn't work. Obviously, this pen is slightly too small, but that is actually a good thing. So what I normally do when I have that kind of a problem, I use washi tape around the edge to make it fit a little bit better so that it sits tight, so that it doesn't wiggle around while it's busy moving. So we just put a little bit of washi tape around this side and it should work. This is the washi tape that I got from my foil quill and that I like to use for this kind of thing. And then I just wrap it a few times around the edge here. And then I'm going to put it into the pen holder to see if it fits. Great, so that fits perfectly. So let's try again. Okay, that worked perfectly. Like, let's just take a moment. Look at that masterpiece. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So I'm going to choose a design. Maybe let's try a flower or something pretty. And I'm going to use the rest of this page as a bit of an extended test. So let's go back to design space. We're going to go to the canvas. We can delete that. And I'm going to insert an image. Let's go to flower, search. That one will probably work beautifully. So let's use that one. So we're going to change this now to draw, apply, and the size. We can actually just try it on that section there. So let's click make it. I actually want to turn it like that. Okay, let's test that one. And the paper setting that I used was actually cardstock, medium cardstock. So I'm just going to use the same material, medium cardstock, and then we can load it up into the maker.
A few moments later.
Okay, so that drew relatively well, and it was a first test, so let's see. Take it gently off. And I just want to move this paper out of the way because there's obviously some, leftovers behind and I don't want that to get onto the mat. If you are enjoying this content, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more Cricut/craft related tutorials in the future. So we can just brush this off. And as you can see, there are some areas where it has sketched, but it didn't quite get the edge off. So what we can do if we really wanted to is just to take our little tool thingy and actually scratch it off ourselves. Okay, so maybe that's not so much the maker's problem, but maybe it's actually the directionality of the cut. Although I think it still looks pretty cool. I'm sure if we had to do this on 2 passes, it would probably work quite well. So maybe what we can do is we can try this exact same design again, but instead of 1 pass, we do it 2 passes. Because we can see there how it works well in one direction, but then when it's going in a different direction, it's almost like it doesn't actually work properly. So maybe it either needs just a tiny little bit more force or 2 passes. So I'm going to test those 2. I'm going to do one with 2 passes and then one with more force, and then we'll see what it looks like at the end. Okay, so I tried many different settings, and as you can see, the first one is still definitely the best. This one, I tried multiple different passes. It didn't make terribly much of a difference. This one was more pressure. Ironically, it seemed to have the adverse effect, and then this one was less pressure, which looks to be almost identical to that. So our first try was definitely our best, which is great. So if you want to try just medium cardstock on the pen setting, it works beautifully. However, what I do like about this is if you prefer to do more of the etching work yourself, it does still draw on the page, but it actually leaves almost like pencil on black paper, where you can kind of just see it. So if you want to kind of sketch the outline and then sit there and do all the work yourself, because I know that it's very therapeutic, then you can do this setting, try with less pressure and whatnot. So that's a great happy accident. But yeah, so thank you very much for joining me today. I know that it was a bit of a mixed end result. Like I said, I still think that one is definitely the best, and I'm going to try and make some more fun things with this method. But I hope to see you in my next video. And remember, be kind to someone today. See you soon.